Welcome, it's Jeremy Allen Gould. I'm coming to you today to confirm between God and of man that in fact, the rumors that you have all heard are true. I started this podcast because I freaking love music. I was privileged enough to book amazing artists and bands in the past, and I was lucky enough to stay in touch with many of them to this day. This is a place to hear their stories. Thank you so much for riding along on this journey, and I hope you enjoy what you hear. With that said, the rumors are definitely true. Welcome back to this latest episode of the Rumors Are True podcast. My name is Jeremy, and today I welcome my dear friend, Dave Ott. You know Dave from the bands Exeter Flud, My Hotel Year, Remnant, Dear Ephesus, and Appleseed Cast. Dave and I go way back, and this is an awesome conversation, a long time coming. He's an incredibly gifted musician and artist, all-around incredible guy. So I hope you enjoy this latest episode with Dave Ott. Dave Ott, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, hey man, I'm good. Really good. How about you?
Good, man. It's been a while. It's been a month or so, something like that.
Yeah.
Dude, what are you up to? What's going on in your life right now?
Well, I don't know, man. I live a fairly boring existence. I have a property, in Jacksonville, and I've got a bunch of like farm animals, and I work in tech, so I sit in front of a computer all day. Otherwise, yeah, kids, smoking hot wife, that stuff.
You can't go wrong there, man. That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
How did you get into the tech world?
When Kat and I got married, I was working at restaurants, waiting tables, that kind of thing, bartending, which is what I tended to do in between tours. And at some point that just wasn't paying the bills. So, I got into tech kind of just to see what it was about. And, 23 years later.
There you are. Here we are.
Yeah.
Sweet, bro. Well, I wanted to talk about, and we kind of talked earlier, but when you and I met, and you think it was when Remnant played in Jacksonville, and I was thinking it was Exeter, but I mean, either way, it's the same thing. But I just remember, I remember vividly you guys coming down quite a bit, and I was hanging with the Smell guys, and I just remember meeting you and how awesome you were, and I always loved Exeter Flud and Remnant, and I think finally on those times, and it's weird that 8 or 25, 26 years later, we're still friends. I think that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, man, I was thinking about this. It was definitely like high school era. We had come down to play with Smell of Wonder at the Murray Hill Theater, and I remember meeting you in the parking lot but I honestly don't remember the year or the exact circumstances.
It's so crazy. It's weird because it's so long ago, but like there's moments I remember vividly, and it's just like I felt like you were down a lot, and it was just, a friendship blossomed, which was cool.
Yeah, I can tell you, I do remember pretty vividly getting a phone call from Rick Miller, like out of the blue. He was like, "Hey man, I heard your demo, I'd love to play some shows with you guys." And like, that's just how the whole relationship got started, I guess, with all those guys.
That's awesome. I love Rick. Rick's a sweetie. Sweet, man. Well, let's talk about growing up for you, man. What was growing up like for you? How did music kind of come into your life, and maybe some influences, some records and bands that kind of infiltrated your mind and your record player?
Yeah, my parents are musicians. My mom went to school for music the first time she went to school. My dad was a guitar player. He played in like a Beatles cover band. Growing up, he was really into, the Beatles and Cream and Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix and all that kind of stuff. So he turned me on to that when I was pretty young. Started playing guitar like around age 9. And so that was some of the early stuff. And then, they were pretty involved in the church. So like the Christian music thing was a theme pretty early, like late 80s, listening to like David and the Giants and Petra and Newsboys, Chicago Guevara, again, 77s, those kind of like 70s, 80s Christian rock bands. And then later it was like, the Choir and the Throws and Poor Old Lou and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, man. I just did an episode with Bill from the Throws, actually.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love them.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they're great.
But then there was also like, this other stuff that I was listening to, which was, punk and post-hardcore, Fugazi and Rites of Spring and, later on Sunday Real Estate and, those kinds of bands. I would say those were a big influence on me around the time, that I started playing in bands.
That's cool. Was your parents cool with you listening to secular music?
Yeah, they were. It's funny. They were super supportive, man. My parents were busy, but they also made time to like promote shows. We had bands come play at different venues, and they were like super involved in that kind of stuff.
That's rad. That's so cool. When did you start playing? What was your first instrument, and when did you start playing that? When did you start realizing you could play multiple instruments?
I think violin was my first instrument at like 4, and then piano. Then I picked up guitar at 9. And I was really motivated to write songs. Like that was really the thing for me. That I was writing a lot of stuff. Like poetry kind of things. And I wanted a way to put that to music. So that was a big motivator for me to play guitar and drums and other things. Just into the writing process. So.
Yeah. When did you start your first bands, and what were they like?
I think my first band was with my brother, and it was called Color My Fish. It's with my brother and some of his friends, older guys. And played guitar, and I don't think we played very many shows, but yeah.
Were you wanting to play since your parents were doing shows? Was that kind of like hey, I want to be able to play these shows? Yeah.
Early on, wanted to play shows. I played talent shows and, at church bands and all that kind of stuff, as much as I could.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, you're playing in these bands, and what kind of leads to Remnant? Let's get into Remnant a little bit and maybe talk about how that started and how that, kind of started all, I guess, in general.
Yeah, so I met a couple of guys. I think I first met them maybe at a Color My Fish practice or something. We used to practice in this room at our church, and I met these guys, Jacob and Gabe. They were cousins. Jacob played guitar and Gabe played drums, and we kind of hit it off. And I don't remember the exact circumstances, but we ended up, deciding to get this band together. And then Travis, I went to high school with Travis in ninth grade before I transferred, and he wasn't a bass player at the time, but I think he just wanted to play in a band, and so we convinced him to come play with us.
You just tagged along.
Yeah. So,
That's sweet. So Remnant starts, and do you start playing shows quite a bit, and you getting some chemistry, and maybe being able to kind of play outside of Atlanta area a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, at first we were just writing. We were practicing in Travis's basement, and then we started playing shows. I think we all went to different high schools, every one of us, and so we would go play, at the Marietta Square, and we'd have a bunch of kids come out, because we would pass out flyers and sell tickets at each of our high schools. So we had kind of like a broad, group of people that we could bring in. And yeah, I think that was a big part of the the success of that band. It was just we could get a lot of kids out to shows, and so the promoters would keep bringing us back to open for bands because we'd bring the crowds.
What bands were you opening for?
Yeah, like Prayer Chain, The Fire Burning, LSU.
Wow.
We did like a 7-day tour with LSU when we were in Remnant. Wow. Came down to like St. Pete. I think we did Birmingham and some other places.
That's cool.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think a lot of that was just because we brought so many kids with us when we played.
That's so cool. Changing of the name. What brought that on? I guess and how long after Remnant had started? When did you decide to change the name?
Man, I don't remember. I think Remnant kind of broke up. I don't remember the story. And Gabe and I were still hanging out a lot, and we decided we wanted to start a new band. I honestly couldn't tell you where that name came from at this point, but yeah, we ended up basically reforming with Jacob, and then we started recording, and Travis came back later, and so it was basically Remnant again with a different drummer, because Gabe was not the drummer in Remnant. We had this guy Josh.
Okay.
Gabe played percussion. So
Disconnected record. You're playing as Exeter Flud. How is that going for you? And when did you start kind of writing that record? Obviously, you're still playing with some of the same bands that are coming through. And I guess did people obviously know when you were playing? Oh, this is a new version of it per se.
Yeah, I think so. I think I was a junior in high school when I started writing the music for Disconnected. And I think I started recording it like sometime in my senior year, late junior, senior year, something like that. And yeah, at the start it was just me and Josh from Remnant a little bit, and Gabe. And I was just writing songs, just wanted to record them. And I had met a couple of guys in a local band. Man, I cannot remember the name of the band at this point, but Michael Hawkins and JC Richardson, and they were in this band that was great in the local in Atlanta, and they worked at the studio. JC worked at the studio as an engineer, and we ended up going there to record Disconnected.
What when you were writing that, did you write the majority of it? Or was it a collaborative effort altogether, or did you write most of it? How did that go?
I did a lot of the writing on Disconnected. definitely some collaboration with Josh and Gabe. Both of them played on the record. But yeah, a lot of it was just me writing songs and collaborating with different folks.
Yeah. And you decided to put that on your own little label that you and your parents started, Floodwater. Like, kind of what was your thought process with that? Which obviously that's pretty ballsy to put your own label, and start your own label. How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I don't know, maybe it's still like this. I think, getting a record deal at that time was a lot like winning the lottery. Just wasn't just something that seemed out of reach, wasn't probably going to happen. And I wanted to put out music, and so it just seemed like the logical choice was just to start our own thing. A few bucks for a business license, and we just had to come up with the cash to record and press. So
yeah. What do you looking back on that record? Kind of tell me your thoughts on it. I know it's been forever ago, but like, how do you feel about it?
Man, I don't know. It's an interesting question. I think putting it in perspective, being a high school kid, and recording and putting out music, I think is, looking back on it, I'm proud of it for those reasons. I think, I have some personality flaws that probably allow me to like really look at it from a real positive place. but yeah, man, it was, it was a great time. I had some great memories doing all that stuff.
Yeah. So you start, obviously put the record out, start playing a little bit. Do you start to gain some traction somewhat? Obviously you're playing in Jacksonville here and there, and then other areas kind of maybe near Atlanta area. How are things going with the band at that point?
Yeah, we were playing a lot, pretty much every weekend. I would say starting sophomore and junior year, we were either playing somewhere in town or somewhere out of town, and we would go to Myrtle Beach, Chattanooga, Nashville, Birmingham, a bunch of places around the South and play. Either opening up for a band or we jump on bills or whatever.
Yeah.
First it was like my mom was driving us in a van, to
That's
to
awesome.
shows around the Southeast, and then when we started driving, we were driving ourselves or whatever. But yeah, it was super busy.
I bet. That's cool. So when did Bulletproof kind of come into the picture? Maybe talk about how that relationship started and how that kind of came to be.
Yeah, I mean, I met Marty and David at the Strand. The music scene in Atlanta, in the like early mid '90s was pretty vibrant. So there was this venue called the Strand, and then later they moved and it was called the Pterodactyl. But Marty and Dave put on a bunch of shows there, and they were gracious and had us open up for a lot of those bands, and we played with like Luxury and all kinds of folks in the Atlanta scene at that time. Yeah,
that's cool. Tell me, when did you start working maybe on the self-titled record? Pretty quickly after you signed, or and also too, was there any other labels wanting you or talking to you? I guess I should ask.
Yeah, I don't recall, man. I mean, we signed with Bulletproof, I think, my senior year of high school, and we made the record, I think, like my last semester, and then graduated and headed out on tour, like a Bulletproof tour that summer.
Yeah.
I don't remember a whole lot else about it other than, sitting down with Marty and David and signing papers and that kind of stuff, honestly.
Let's talk about the self-titled record. What's some thoughts and memories maybe from that time? And kind of, I want to know your thoughts on that record in general as well.
Yeah, I mean, I remember having a blast making it. We recorded it with those same guys. They had moved studios at that point. And it was it was a super fun experience. You know, we did a lot of writing in the studio. We collaborated a lot with JC and Michael, and you know, we were just I don't know, we just had a blast.
Yeah. What's your favorite song from that record?
I don't know, man.
Or you gotta go with Darling D.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what else I could choose. Yeah.
So the record comes out, you hit the road. Oh, and also didn't for a time. So let me not back that far off. But so you hit the road, and you said the Bulletproof tour. What other bands are you playing with? And does the touring increase quite a bit? And is that at that point?
Yeah, I don't remember how long that first tour was, but it was pretty long. Like we were out for many months. We did the whole U.S. I think twice, and we were on a bill with Dear Ephesus, Squad 50,
TOD maybe. I feel like. Well, the reason why I ask, because I was living in Denver at the time, and I went and saw you. I don't know if you remember, but you guys played like a Christian college out there, and I went to the show.
We did, yeah.
POD played it, and yeah, it was random happenstance type show. But yeah, I was gonna say, did you feel like you toured quite a bit through the next year or so, kind of basically in that time?
Yeah, pretty much stayed on the road for probably the next 3 or 4 years. Yeah, between that tour and just other bands that I ended up getting into. But yeah, the first like Bulletproof stuff was mostly it was dates with like, Dear Ephesus or Squad 50 or you know those kind of other Bulletproof bands.
So you play on tour and you're getting a couple years on the road. What is that kind of the demise of the band essentially, or did it feel like it was starting to kind of you weren't getting anywhere? I guess what made that kind of happen?
Yeah. I don't know if there was like a moment or anything like that. And I apologize to the other guys if I'm like misrepresenting anything. I know Gabe listens to this, so he can probably correct me. But I know that Gabe specifically did not like touring, so after a while he was just kind of like, dude, I can't do this anymore. And we ended up leaving the tour, I think from Dallas, and Jeff from Dear Ephesus played the last part of that tour. And I, honestly, I don't remember the circumstances beyond that. I don't think we went out again. No, that's not true. I think we did 1 or 2 more tours with Jeff before we stopped. And I think probably moving on to Dear Ephesus was the thing that sort of killed the band.
Yeah,
completely in the end. Yeah.
And I know you came and played in Jacksonville, and Smell of Wonder played with you as Exeter Flud. So did you have other bands doing that in the other areas, or was that just kind of a one-off type thing?
Yeah, I mean, we would go play places. Like we would go play in Chattanooga, and this band Annie would play with us pretty frequently.
Oh yeah,
there.
They're great.
Yeah, love those guys, and we'd go play in like in Myrtle Beach, and there's some local bands that play with us there. Just kind of depended.
Didn't Chris from Luxury play with you for a little bit, and Jamie maybe? Yeah,
Chris and Jamie both. Early on in Exeter Flud, it was just me and Gabe. We hadn't convinced anybody else to play with us yet, and
so they just
So the first few shows, Jamie and Chris from Luxury played with us.
Oh, I love those guys. They're great. Yeah. So the band breaks up, and you mentioned Dear Ephesus was kind of maybe a nail in the coffin, essentially. So let's talk about the Dear Ephesus time that you were with them, and maybe just bring me back to that time.
Yeah, I mean, I met Aaron, I think at Edge Fest.
Yeah.
And I I think if he were to recount the story, he'd probably say they wouldn't get along very well at the beginning, which is kind of funny. But yeah, we met and we ended up doing some, a bunch of touring together, and Brett and Lou ended up leaving Dear Ephesus on one of the tours that we were on, and so me and Travis jumped on and filled in for them.
How long did that go on for?
I don't remember, a year maybe, something like that.
And how was the vibe? You said Aaron might originally maybe didn't get along with you. How was the vibe when you were in the band?
Yeah, we became really good friends. Yeah, I love that dude, and we've stayed in touch over the years. I lived in Boston for a time, and he lived in New Hampshire, and so we'd visit him and his family there. This is a few years ago, but
what? Why did? Was there any recording? Did you get to record on any of that, or was it just basically touring?
No, just touring. We had done some writing, but I don't think any of those songs ever ended up on any recordings. Yeah.
And is that kind of when the band decided to split, essentially? When you guys kind of all just went your separate ways, I guess.
Yeah.
You're also playing with Appleseed Cast at this time, correct?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. How did that kind of come to be?
We met Appleseed in El Paso, Texas, at a show. They opened up for Dear Ephesus at a venue there. And yeah, we just ended up, becoming friends. And when their drummer left, Lewis, I think was his name. Yeah, Lewis. Mm-hmm. Honestly, don't remember how I ended up playing drums for them, but I moved to Kansas and lived with them for a while. And this was like after End of the Ring Wars, like before before Cobra joined the band. So this was sort of in like their transitioning time, I would say, between those two sounds.
So were you living in Lawrence?
Yeah.
Lawrence is a good town. Awesome.
Yeah, I love that place.
Yeah, it's an amazing town.
There was so much good music happening at that time.
Oh,
It was like, I was listening to some of those records the other night with one of my daughters, vinyls that I had from bands in the Lawrence area, during that time.
Absolutely. It's a great area, great fertile ground for music for sure.
Yeah.
So how long were you with Appleseed? It was just one tour or a couple tours, and why did you decide to leave that?
Yeah, there was at least a couple of tours. I want to say I was with them around a year. Travis and I, who was in Remnant and Exeter Flud and Dear Ephesus with me, we had started doing some writing for a new band. And we were just kind of like mailing demo tapes back and forth, from what I recall, of each other. And that was really my focus at the time. Appleseed was great. It was a fun experience, but I knew that I was temporary. So yeah, I was writing with Travis, and we ended up with this band called My Hotel Year.
Yes, that's my next point. Let's talk about My Hotel Year. I vividly remember when Mike Von Boston sent me the 2-song demo, the first 2 songs you guys recorded, and I remember he mailed it to me in Denver, and I was freaking out. I was like, "Oh my God, this is incredible!" Let's talk about the beginning of that band, and then we'll go into the record.
Cool. Well, yeah, the beginning it was me and Travis. We're just writing songs. Travis is a fantastic songwriter.
Yeah, absolutely.
He wrote a lot of that material, and I think I was looking for an excuse to play with Mike, so we convinced him to play with us. And then we started recording. We made this record, composition of ending phrasing, in my parents' basement. This was like super early Pro Tools. Matt Goldman from he was in a band called Piltown Man.
Yeah.
good friends with the Luxury Guys. He played drums for Vigilance of Love for a while.
Nice.
Yeah, he had just like started recording records at that time, and he didn't have a studio, so we just brought all this stuff over to my parents' house, and we made that record.
That's awesome. Let's talk about that record a little bit. Maybe at that time, how were you feeling about the songs, and kind of looking back, how do you feel about that record?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I would say looking back on the things that I did in that period, that's definitely the thing that I'm the most proud of. I think that those were just a great collection of songs, and we had a bunch of fun playing with each other, and we played a lot of shows. And
yeah, who were you playing? Who were you playing with, and who were you guys touring, basically?
Yeah, I don't recall that we did any like long distance tours with My Hotel Year. We did a lot of regional stuff. We had moved to Florida at that point to be closer to Mike and James, so we were playing a lot of Florida shows, Georgia, Alabama, that kind of stuff.
What's your favorite song from that record, and maybe just tell me why?
Probably 6 a.m.
Yeah, great song.
Yeah, that's just a great tune.
Was that the first song you guys wrote together? I mean, I know you recorded the demos, but like, was that kind of one of the first ones that you just felt stoked on about it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I don't know, that record felt like a record to me. Like I think the things that I had done up until that point felt like sort of collections of disparate songs. And that one felt more like a cohesive sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that the band obviously signed with the label. Had you left at that point, correct?
Yeah, I had left at that point.
What brought you leaving, or what brought on you leaving the band?
I don't know, man. I think, Travis and I had a little bit of, I think, a disagreement about, the direction of the band, what we wanted to do. I think he really wanted to tour a lot. I think I did not. I was starting to sort of settle in life, I was thinking about getting married, that kind of stuff. And, just ended up moving on. Yeah.
So you leave the band. What happens then? Do you start obviously getting into the workforce, and are you missing music? Are you, is it something that you still continued to write songs, or was it just kind of one of those things you just put on the back burner?
Both. Both, yeah. I mean, I would say music's always been a part of my life. If I pick up an instrument, I'm probably writing something. I have who knows how many fragments of songs, over the years that I've written that I've done nothing with. But I mean, it's continued to be a big part of my life. But on the other hand, I've gone long periods without playing at all. Yeah. So,
well, didn't you play with Barry for a little bit with Code of Ethics?
Yeah, I played with Code of Ethics. Barry's a great friend.
Love Barry.
Yeah, we're having dinner this weekend. It's his birthday.
Oh, I need to text him.
Yeah, I played with Barry some. My wife and I played in a band together for a bit.
Yeah, Bark and the Owl.
Yeah. I went to school for music twice.
Yeah, let's talk about you going. Let's talk about you going up to Berkeley.
Yeah.
How was that?
That was awesome. Yeah, I totally. I got in. This is kind of a funny story. I got into Berkeley on like such a loophole, man. I totally did not deserve to be there.
What are you talking about?
I've had an awesome career in tech. I've done a lot of cool things, and Berkeley has one of the oldest online schools. And I ended up going to work at Berkeley in Boston, and one of the benefits of me working there was that I could go to school there. So that was a great experience. Got to take classes there. And
what did you major in up there?
Composition.
Nice. What is there? Did you get to work with anyone awesome or any like I don't know, maybe bigger musicians? Did they come through? Or did you meet anyone like that?
There was always really cool people hanging around, right? Like I didn't really get to interact personally with any of them, but like Steve Vai and
Wow.
Pat Metheny and those kinds of folks, John Mayer were those sort of guitar titans were around from time to time. But yeah, I
No, I
have
get
cool
it.
stories about rubbing shoulders with any of them.
So just out of curiosity, I'm going to backtrack. Would you ever put Disconnected on Spotify or Apple Music? I just forgot to ask you that.
Man, I don't know.
I think you should.
I've never thought about it.
Well, I've thought about it when I was looking for it.
I don't know, man. Spotify seems like such a scam.
It kind of is, but it kind of rules. It's kind of, I know, I get it. I know you don't get anything, but it's so convenient, unfortunately.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I listen to it every day, but I don't know.
Dude, I get it. I totally get it. It's like, damn the man, but the man's awesome sometimes.
Yeah.
Dude, so looking back, I know you said you're most proud of My Hotel Year, but maybe what's the song, 6 a.m., would that be the song that you would say is the one that you are most proud of overall?
Yeah, on that record, yeah, for sure. Man, I haven't thought about any of that stuff in a long time. I listened to, we put out a 7-inch with Remnant.
Yes, I do have that.
And I was listening to those songs the other night. One of my daughters got a record player recently. She's gotten into vinyl. And so I was pulling out some of the old stuff and listening to that. And I was like, man, for a bunch of 14, 15-year-olds, this was all right,
Yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome to look at. That's really cool that you can look back and say, that was awesome that you did something cool. Because I mean, there was a lot of stuff that enjoyed you guys, and it was sad to see you not doing it anymore. I do love seeing you play, and I do love. I wish you'd play more. To be honest with you.
Yeah, man. Life is busy, but
would you ever do a new record, or would you ever put anything out?
Yeah, I've thought about it. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. I have material that I've done nothing with that I do like, that I would love to do something with at some point.
Well, I would love to encourage you to do that, because you are supremely talented, and I love hearing your voice and all the things you do, and I just encourage you as your friend to put this out, man.
Thanks, man. Maybe you could convince Von Boston to get his.
He would do it. He 100% would do it. He's always starving to play. Dude, that's sick, man. So tell me, future-wise, I mean, I know we just mentioned maybe a possible songs and whatnot, but what does the future look like for you?
I don't know, man. I think we're about to get destroyed by AI or something, so I'm just kind of waiting for the apocalypse.
Oh, yeah. Well, you've got the property, and if you want to sell me an acre, I wouldn't be bummed. Dude,
yeah, I mean, I've been playing in church, or in congregational settings, I would say, since I was a kid. So that's continued to be a big thing for me. So I'm sure there's a lot more of that in the future.
Would you ever do an Exeter Flud reunion?
I mean, no, probably not. Not that I'm opposed to it, but I just don't know how that would happen. We did get together several years ago. It was Jacob's 40th birthday, I think.
Oh, nice. We
got together and none of us remembered anything.
Did you try to play it?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Is there footage?
I hope not.
Dude, you rule. I love you. You're such a great friend.
Love you, man.
I'm really stoked that you decided to tell me these cool stories, and just really hope that you put something new out musically, and the world can hear it, because we need to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, man, we'll see. I think the tech industry is kind of crumbling, so I might have to go back to touring.
Hey, who's to say? I mean, you never know. Dave, you rule. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I'll let you know when I post this. But I know a lot of people are stoked to hear you, so I'm stoked you came on, man.
Yeah, man, I love you. Let's see you to the show soon.
Yeah, let's see a show and get some beers and hang out.
Sounds good.
All right, buddy. I will talk to you later.
All right.
All right, buddy. Bye.
See ya.
Thank you to the listener for tuning in to this latest episode. I really appreciate your support and all the likes and all the comments and all that awesome stuff. So thank you so much, listener. Thank you to Dave Ott for this awesome conversation. Like I said, it was a long time coming. It was really cool to connect with him again. Good friend I've known for a very long time. So I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Got some amazing stuff on the horizon. Add me on Instagram and Facebook if you'd like at the Rivers of Truth Cast. Like and subscribe if you'd like. It's up to you. Hey guys, nostalgia, man, it's still a heck of a drug.